This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Ricky Widmer.
What's up?
And Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And today, we are talking about the second best team in the East because there's a lot of parity in the East. There's a lot of guys trying to that's not a fucking word.
Vie. Is that what you're looking for?
Vie for the second spot in the Eastern Conference.
We're trying to go on the upclimb.
We're also trying to go on the upclimb. I've been hanging out with Ricky too much. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the second best team in the East. A lot of guys vying for that position. We're also going to be talking about DeMarcus Cousins. When will he be traded and possibly where he will be traded, but mostly when will he be traded, and then also if he will be traded. And then finally, we're going to be talking about should college players really be going away from the one and done, and we'll be using examples from the NBA and seeing if that is kind of an outdated system. We've talked about it before, but more
this recent draft class kind of proving some points, maybe.
Yeah, this recent draft class has been proving some points, and let's jump right into it. And so far, NBA season's been fantastic.
Loving it.
I think we could say that. And there's a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference, and we know the Cavs are the best team in the East. And whether the standings really say it or not, they are the best team in the East because LeBron James is coasting. And he even said that he's going to stop playing over 36 minutes a game after the All-Star break to kind of take a break. So LeBron can afford to take a break. I don't know if these other teams can really afford to take a break here.
Yeah, I mean, not every team has, a sharpshooter like Kyrie Irving who can literally run the team on his own to a decent success. And then you got K-Love, who's playing up this year to his old potential, which is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and Tristan Thompson, obviously, as well. You got J.R. Smith, who never puts a shirt on.
They're just stacked.
Yeah, Cavs are stacked. And then we're going to really talk about the second best team in the East because it was Toronto last year. We kind of shit on Toronto this year.
Just a little bit.
But they've been proving us wrong, and we'll admit to it. We'll be the first ones to admit when we're wrong. We'll also be the first ones to admit when we're right as well. But we'll be talking about who's the second best team in the East. And let's throw it out here because, Ricky, I know you got a dog in the race now. You got the Bulls in the race here. But who's the second best team in the Eastern Conference in your mind?
Well, it's got to be the Orlando Magic, right?
Yeah,
is that who we're going with? The Orlando Magic, second best in the East?
Are we talking about
second best in the East?
Are we talking about pointing out when I'm right? Because I said they were going to be the worst offensive team in the league, and hey, shocker, they are averaging 92 points per game.
But on a serious note,
because the Magic aren't serious, they're a fucking joke.
And I love how you kind of throw it out there. Hey, Ricky, fans? You Bulls, you got the dog in the race. The thing with the Bulls that I'm worried about is, are we going to keep this up all year? Is this going to be?
Is this sustainable?
Is this this is a hot start, or this is what this team is supposed to look like now that it's Jimmy's team and we don't have anything to worry about? Is it Derrick Rose? Mm-hmm. Is Jimmy Butler? Another team that I was kind of thinking, the two teams that intrigue me the most in this discussion, the Hawks and the Bulls, because they have similar things going on. Last year, the point guard for the Hawks, it wasn't the same as the Bulls. The Bulls were an entire team. Is it Jimmy's team? Is it Derrick's team? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, everything we were talking about last year with the Hawks is, who's the point guard do you use moving forward? Is it Teague or is it Schroeder? And, I mean, looking at the Hawks, looks like they made the right choice getting Schroeder, who his assist numbers at 6 per game. And Dwight Howard coming in, the big thing we kept saying about him is he's a big guy. You got to feed him the ball.
He's going to rejuvenate himself.
He doesn't need to do too much with this Hawks team. So they're up playing very well. The Bulls, Jimmy Butler's playing well. Now he doesn't have to worry about Derrick Rose there with a veteran presence like D. Wade next to him. I think with me, it's either the Hawks or the Bulls are the second team in the East, and I don't know who I'm going to pick yet. I'll leave you guys in suspense.
Oh, come on. You can't pick a team?
I'll wait till the end.
He's riding the fence.
We'll talk a little bit.
He wants to hear our argument.
We'll talk a little
Dave,
bit.
who's at least in the running, obviously. I think we got four teams in the running here. But
I think
in your mind.
A little level of disrespect to not mention last year's, top team in the East, the Toronto Raptors.
Coming from the man, little disrespect from the man who had
I only disrespect a little bit. A little bit.
The Raptors are obviously
I'm not quoting
there.
here, but this might be a paraphrase.
All right,
where you said in our predictions, "Fuck the Raptors."
Yes, that's a direct quote.
Some fans may have repeated that a couple times too.
Just saying.
Yeah, well, fuck you guys. Look, the Raptors are good. DeMar DeRozan's playing out of the world right now. Like the MJ comparisons are fantastic.
Playing out
for
of the
him.
country too.
Yeah, that too.
Because they're in Canada.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good
Sean.
joke, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, dad jokes. But at the same time, a team who's quietly been playing well is the Charlotte Hornets. So I don't think you can rule them out yet because they are doing quite well in their own right. But no, I think this really, it's a 4-team race right now. Toronto is being carried by DeMar DeRozan. He's laying it down. I talked a little bit of Kyle Lowry, kind of taking that back seat. He's not having a terrible year, but compared to last year, it's definitely a notch down. Mm-hmm. He's still able and willing. They're seeing some good productivity out of some of the role players this year. So, Toronto's doing very well. I can't argue with that. My big thing is I want to get I'm right about Atlanta because I talked about how Dwight Howard would be playing happier, playing healthier, and playing his own role on this Hawks team because he didn't get to do that on the Rockets. James Harden was calling the shots. The Lakers, well, that was under the shadow of Kobe, and he just couldn't handle it mentally. I think he wasn't a mature enough guy at that time in his career to be able to fill that role for the Lakers. So he comes into this Atlanta team, and he's like, hey, I'll get you boards, I'll play rough in the paint, and I don't have to be the guy who throws down 25 a night, but if you need me to, I can. So I think that him coming to the Hawks has been one of the best offseason pickups during this last offseason entirely. Outside of KD.
Yeah, and one thing we say it's a 4-team race. We're talking about the Hawks, Hornets, Bulls, and Raptors. And again, it's early on in the season, so we're not writing off teams like the Celtics, Pistons, Pacers.
No, but we're pretty sure the Celtics aren't going to trade their draft rights. The swap for the Nets pick, I'm pretty sure they're going to keep their own because they're going to be the worst team.
In the Nets?
Yeah, sure. Let's just say it.
Dave, you feeling okay?
Yeah.
All right. Anyways,
I'm just trying to make fans angry.
I don't know about that, but
that's all Dave is. Which fan base can he piss off this week?
But one
that's
thing
basically what Dave's going for
is I believe in my predictions I had the Celtics at the second best team, and what we've seen from the Celtics is a lack of defense, and that's something that's kind of worrying me.
Lack of rebounds
and a lack of rebounds, and it's really shocking because you bring in a guy like Al Horford, you think those numbers go up, and that's one thing with the Celtics that you haven't seen is really that those players come together and that team really come together. Avery Bradley's been playing fantastic, but really we haven't seen the Celtics of last year. And another team that I was high on was the Pistons. And one thing that I do want to say about them is they're 6-7 right now, and they're 5-0 at home, 1-7 on the road. But one thing with the Pistons, though, is they're not playing with Reggie Jackson. And you're talking about a guy who is a fantastic playmaker, can really find Andre Drummond, can find Tobias Harris, and can score himself. And I'm not trying to put down your boy Ish here. He's still got 6 assists a game. But
he's not bad, but he's not Reggie.
He's not Reggie. And that's one thing, too, where the Pistons are going to take a jump at some point. And I feel like that jump's going to come when you get a catalyst like Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson. I don't know what I'm going out of my mind. But what I'm trying to say is I think the Pistons can be a team that can jump back in there. And if a team's going to fall out, hate to say it, Ricky, I think it's the Bulls just because.
See, I don't think so.
Well, I'm saying just because I think they've been playing absolutely fantastic. I've been completely wrong about them. I'll be the first to admit it. But the thing is that you're relying heavily on D Wade, and we know that if there's going to be a team that can go out because of injuries, you got to say it's the Bulls out of every team.
Yeah, but this is the one thing that I'm looking at is if it's any out of the top 4, I'm going off of really the top 5 teams in the East right now because those are the ones at this point who have winning records in the East. I know Boston, you're at 6-6, but the thing that I look at is the Cavs are obviously going to be at the top.
Very good chance.
The Hawks and Bulls are interesting because they're the 2 out of these 5 that added pieces. We could say oh, look at the Pacers. We kind of overhyped them. They added so many new pieces. They need the Seanism of the day. They need time to gel.
They do need time to gel.
They do.
So we can't write them off yet.
Yeah, I just like saying that because that's your phrase. Time to gel, which they do. The Pistons, they're just, to me, they're not that experienced team like the Cavs. That's why they are. The Celtics are kind of like the Pistons. They need a little time to gel with Al Horford, with Isaiah Thomas.
I think they're still looking for a piece, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's why everyone has them in trade talks for Boogie, or if anybody comes up, Blake Griffin, we have them in this talk because they need that piece. But when I look at the top 5, when I look at the Hornets, the Cavs, and the Raptors, really what changed with those teams? Those were the ones that kept their core. Obviously, the Cavs, it's easy to keep your core when you're the defending champions and have K-Love, Kyrie, J.R. Smith, and LeBron, but they were the ones that kept it. The Bulls and the Hawks, the Hawks, they kept their core, but then just added Dwight Howard. I mean, they got rid of Teague, but
and they got rid of Horford.
Yeah, but I mean, adding the Dwight Howard in. You still kept Millsap. You still kept Schroeder. You still have Kent Bazemore,
hot sauce.
Whereas and Kyle Korver. Whereas the Bulls, they really got rid of all the trash, like Derrick Rose, and I hate calling Joakim Noah trash, but because of the injury, because he wasn't playing for us, kind of was. Like, you can't really do anything when you're not on the court. And then you add in, I know Mike Rankin hates him, but you add in Rajon Rondo, who is a veteran, and you add in D. Wade, who is a veteran. You add in veteran leadership, and two veterans who don't really care if it's their team. It's Jimmy's team, and really helping the young guys. That's why those two teams, the Hawks and the Bulls, are up there. But you look at the other three, very consistent from last year. Yeah, they made minor tweaks, but they're still the same team overall.
Again, with the Bulls, I'm not trying to write off it because I think
you want to be right.
I could say that I was wrong, but what I'm saying is I don't think they can be the second best team in the East because of the injuries. I mean, we've even seen Rajon Rondo go down already. I think he's already missed 2 games.
Yeah, but Grant has been doing great filling, and that's what the Bulls need. If somebody goes down, like if a D Wade goes down, Valentine or Dougie need to step up.
But those guys can't replace what D Wade does from a leadership standpoint.
Yeah, they're not going to be the same, but he can still be that leader off the bench. He can still be that leader on the bench.
But you even saw it in the game against the Jazz where these guys kind of stopped playing defense near the end of the game. And this is what Mike Rankin was telling me because I forget what we were recording previews.
Yeah.
But what Rankin saw was that they kind of stopped playing defense. They were slacking on defense a little bit. And Dwayne Wade was like, "All right, guys, this is what we worked on in practice. Let's go. Let's do what we were doing in practice. We need to wake up. We can't let this slip because it was a really sloppy game between the Jazz and the Bulls." And that's one thing where it's different when you're on the bench and it's different when you're actually on the court. And D-Wade can be an on-court general.
How many times have we seen those players in the game, the veteran players who, and this is all hearsay because who knows if D-Wade's going to get injured. Maybe he pulls a Sam Bradford and maybe he doesn't. But what I'm trying to say is
I'm joining in this.
I'm better.
How many times have we seen a player like on the bench during a timeout, hey guys, come on, this is what we're doing the same thing.
You can, yeah.
But on the bench. And I think D-Wade, it doesn't matter if he's playing or if he's on the bench, he's still going to have that role and that influence over the young players.
Look, you're talking about intangibles right now. Let's talk about things that actually contribute. Having a team where you have 2 stud players who at any given time can go win you a game. Just flat out win you a game. That's something that not every team has. Having the capability of D-Wade, who is a perennial all-star, who's a little past his prime, no one's going to deny that, but still can just absolutely kill it any given night. Then you have Jimmy, who has been playing statistically one of the best years of his career and just killing it. I mean, there's not a lot of teams who can do that. So having those two, I don't know if it means they're going to finish second, but when it comes to playoff time, if the Bulls are in it, that makes them one of the most dangerous teams in the playoffs.
And the team, to me, that's the most interesting, I know you said, Sean, that, hey, the Bulls could be the one to fall out early on, and I could be wrong about this, only time will tell. I think it's the Hornets. And the reason why is I look at their schedule so far, and you look at their first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go 7 games. Their first 7 games didn't play the hardest schedule. They played the Bucks, the Heat, the Celtics, who haven't been that good, the Sixers, the Nets, the Pacers. The really big, tough game in that 7 games has been the Jazz. Yeah, they win that one, but then you lose to the Celtics, so they kind of weigh each other out. Ever since those first 7, you play Toronto, you lose. You play Cleveland, of course you lose. Yeah, you beat the Timberwolves. Yeah, you get a good key win against the Hawks today as we're recording this podcast, but to me, as the season goes on, I think the Hornets are going to be a team where they are going to play down to some opponents and lose some games. And if they want to win games, they're going to have ones like tonight where, yeah, you beat the Hawks, but you beat them by 4 points, and it's a tough game. They're going to be grinders all year, and they're going to be worn out.
Well, let me ask you one thing. Who have the Bulls beat at all? I mean, they've played similar schedules, the Hornets and the Bulls. The one thing that I'm saying, though, is the reason why I say the Bulls will be the second best team in the East is because you have the possibility of Dwayne Wade being injured. And, it's tough to say that a guy who's 36 years old, who has so many knee problems, is going to be that guy that you can rely on consistently. I'm not saying that this team is bad. This team, when healthy, has been fantastic.
The interesting thing
I'm not trying to take that away from him.
That he's still playing like 29 minutes a night, and their dependence on the bench, I think they could lean heavier on the bench, and they haven't. So I don't know if that's a coaching decision or if that's Dwayne Wade trying to go out and prove a point that, hey, I can still go. I got minutes. We're fine. My knees are good.
And one thing, too, that Rankins mentioned is that he's kind of down on Bobby Portis. But Bobby Portis has not been playing that many minutes. He's been playing around 10 minutes per game.
Between Bobby, Denzel, a lot of the guys on the bench who have a lot to prove still, haven't maybe had that chance to shine.
I think with
that
increased
Bobby
minutes...
Portis thing can change if we trade Taj.
Yeah, but Taj has been playing fantastic.
No, I know.
And the way this
and
team's
do you
been
want
going...
to trade him if you're going to be a top contender?
And it's all going to depend on, by the trade deadline, do we trade him because we think it's going to be in our pause situation?
And one thing, too, just with Bobby, is that if you see increased minutes, you might see better play from him. But let's move on from the Bulls and really kind of get to the answer of this question. And it's who is the second best team in the East, and really who will be the second best team in the East when this is all said and done. And you brought up, you have two guys that can win you games in Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler. My hesitance there is that, one of those guys might not be there on a consistent basis in D Wade if he does get hurt. With Charlotte, you have one guy who has a killer instinct in Kemba Walker.
He's been doing it, too.
We've obviously been seeing his ability to do that. But again, you don't have that second guy to rely on from a scoring standpoint. With the Hawks, Paul Millsap's great. Dennis Schroeder is a good facilitator. Dwight Howard is, I don't know if he's a clutch scorer. There's good players on the team.
But
I don't know if you have a clutch.
Howard doesn't need to be a clutch scorer.
If you have a clutch scorer. But I'm just saying, you don't have clutch scorers on that team. He doesn't need to be, but you don't have a clutch scorer on that team.
But
you don't have a guy that, I'm going to give the ball in my hands, this guy's going to score.
Well, and that's...
My point is that Toronto has that. Kyle Lowry proved that last year in that Cleveland game where he hits that big game winner. DeMar DeRozan has been proving that he can be a clutch scorer. That's why I lean towards the Toronto Raptors in saying that they will be the second best team in the East.
I'm not going to disagree there. To me, I have three teams that I'll rank in order that could be the second one. The first one I really think is the Hawks.
Yeah.
And the main reason I think like that right now is to me looking, I know it's early in the season, but looking right now, they are the most complete team when it comes to scoring. I know you say like, oh, they don't have that guy with the killer instinct to go and take over a game. But yeah, when you have 5 players in double digits, they kind of have the mentality of whoever's got the shot is going to take it, and they're going to be confident in that. That's been a Atlanta Hawk kind of philosophy for the past few years.
I don't disagree, but the Hawks haven't won a championship.
However, the thing that I look at is I think it's going to be the Hawks. I think they have, to me, the best overall team right now, but the Raptors are right in second because DeMar is playing out of his mind.
Well, yeah, it's the race for second place.
This is the race for second. Second in the race for second.
Yeah.
But he's got a Robin and Kyle Lowry. And the third team in this is, I say, the Bulls. Because Jimmy Butler is to the Bulls what DeMar DeRozan is to the Raptors. And D. Wade could be as Kyle Lowry.
So you're writing off the Hornets.
I am rating off the Hornets. I think at the end they'll be a playoff team, but maybe like 6.
Kemba's phenomenal. No one can take anything away. It's just, on his own, like you look around, you look at Nick, you look at Frank, and you don't see that guy who's going to come in there and give you the chance to win games nightly. Like we talked about MKG coming in and being like really good, but then he's 8-8 right now. He's not doing terrible. He's not doing great. He's just filling a role, and I wish that he was playing better. I wish that my hype for him, lived out, but it's not the case. And this is a team where I'm just kind of looking, and I think we all are. We're looking for that guy who can step up. And I mean, Kaminsky is the only guy who has a chance, but he's playing with the second unit, which gives him, it's a smart move by them. It spreads out their scoring a little more, but he really needs to pick it up even more if they want to compete. That's why I'm going, I hate saying it.
Real quick with the Hornets, Marvin Williams also hasn't been playing up to where he was near the end of the season. So we might see some changes. But I agree. Like the Hornets, you have Kemba, heavy. Hawks are a complete team, but I don't know if that team can go somewhere. Toronto obviously has DeMar DeRozan, who's one of the best scorers right now in the NBA. Kyle Lowry with him.
I'm honestly in a toss-up between Chicago and Toronto for that number 2 spot because I'm with you. I think Atlanta is a complete team, but you know what? Complete teams don't. Well, that's fair. No, I'm wrong. I'm thinking this through in my head, and I'm like, complete teams are usually good in the regular season because they have a very deep bench. They have a very deep bench, and they're consistent play. when we talk about, playoffs and dangerous, Toronto and Chicago,
And
definitely.
The thing for Atlanta, though,
I'm going Atlanta.
I want to throw in there when it comes to playoff time, that's where Dwight is going to be the major key, to quote DJ Khaled. The major key for that team is because he's the one on that team that's had the big playoff experience. He's gone to a finals. He's gone far in the NBA playoffs. He's got to be that leader when they get to the playoffs.
He literally played 4 on the perimeter and just passed the ball in.
I'm just saying.
It's a fun offense.
Toronto was there last year.
Yeah.
They were consistently proving that they were there last year. And we said that they didn't improve, but also to Toronto Raptors fans' points, they also didn't get that much worse. And
DeMar improved his own game. They didn't add new pieces that really
players there improved. Yeah. So I'm going with the Raptors. Ricky's going with the Hawks. You're going with the Bulls?
I'm going with the Hawks for the regular season because just consistency. They're the freaking Spurs of the East. Come on.
That's where Bud learned these whole powers here. But let's move on now.